Well, greetings, everyone, and welcome to a very special online event today. It's called Discover Quantum Intuition. Learn how to amplify your psychic abilities and receive messages for insights and guidance. My name is Stephen Dine. I'm the founder and president of the Shift Network, and I'm thrilled to be with you here because I always am interested in expanding intuitive abilities because they're really at the heart of how are we guided to live a better life, to make a better contribution, to have better relationships when we can tap higher dimensions of our own consciousness, guidance from others. That's how we really live our best lives. And we're going to get to explore intuition and particularly the quantum side of that with a pioneer in this area. Her name is Kim Chestney. She's the founder of Intuition Lab, the author of the Illumination Code and Radical Intuition. And yeah, we're really looking forward to what Kim has to share. So thank you so much for joining, Kim.
Thanks for having me, Stephen. I'm so excited to be here and talk about all this exciting stuff with you.
Great. Well, we're going to dive in. I want to let everyone know up front that we're going to have a brand new program with Kim called 7 Keys to Activate Your Quantum Intuition. And we'll share more about that towards the end of the hour if you get sparked and want to go further with her. So, Kim, let's begin a little bit of our journey today with your journey into working and focusing on intuition and really developing a methodology around that.
Yeah, I've really been very passionate about intuition for most of my life. It's sort of been my quest in life to understand it. It started very early on. I grew up in a haunted house, so I was exposed to metaphysical experiences and phenomenon at a very young age that I really had to figure out and make sense of in my own world. So for me, this sort of passion was driven by reconciling my reality with what people were saying about it, like, oh, that's impossible, these things can't happen, but I personally experienced them, so I knew they could happen. So part of my journey really started out with learning to understand psychic phenomenon and psychic development, understand how it actually works. So that's what really spawned my first book in 2004, The Psychic Workshop. But after that, I ended up getting into the arts and technology because, as an intuitive person, I'm creative. And I started working with tech companies and entrepreneurs, and I started hearing people talk about intuition and how important intuition was in business and this whole sort of other world that I didn't really understand that it applied to. And that got me thinking. And over time, I started working with all different types of people to find out the many ways that intuition actually plugs into our life. And it turns out intuition is so much more than we really give it credit for. It is this really powerful form of our inner wisdom, but it is also something that's so important for our future and for the expansion of our consciousness and really for taking the human mind to the next level. So I've been really excited to work with different scientists who gave a new perspective on intuition as something that is really actually related to our quantum nature. And that's what really got me excited in my new book, talking about this new view of intuition is something that's very normal, very real, that everybody has. And I'm just excited to share new ways to tap into that and to help people understand it.
Great. Well, you use this very evocative term, quantum intuition. So why don't we start with just the why bring quantum in front of intuition? How is this bridging science and spirituality?
Yeah, so when I wrote my last book, Radical Intuition, and people started to work with it, like, wow, this is actually working. But how's it really possible? How can I know something before it's going to happen? Or how do I, when I think of someone and they call me on the phone at the same time, like, what's really going on? Like, this is beyond coincidence. So I've had a passion for quantum physics for a while in the back burner. Not a great math person, but I had almost a minor in college in it. So I really wanted to apply that sort of understanding of a contemporary view of reality to intuition and how it works. And it started out with reading Urban Laszlo's book, Science in the Akashic Field, and really all these pieces started to come together. That really points to the fact that intuition operates from a microcosmic level, from a different place than our rational thinking mind. And that's why things seem impossible. It's because intuition's operating by a different set of laws of physics. So it's super exciting to go in and start to unpack that in terms of supernatural phenomenon and how they actually apply to different concepts in physics. And to me, it really validates, science is now proving what the mystics have been saying for centuries, what's been written in the Bhagavad Gita for 3,000 years. Now, science is behind that. So it's a really exciting time to be alive, and it's an exciting time to start working with our intuition in a really no-nonsense way. We understand it's powerful, it's real, it's learnable, and it's repeatable.
Can you give a specific example of a psychic phenomenon that is made more intelligible or made sensible by understanding it from a quantum perspective?
Yeah, pretty much all of them. But for example, telepathy, I think, is a great thing that you hear about. Just for starters, I could go on forever with this one, but you think about someone and someone might say something you're thinking at the same time. Someone, like I said before, might call you on the phone when you're thinking about them. You might think of a friend and they just show up in your life, or you run into them at the store. All this sort of synchronicities and entanglements and all of these ways that we're connected invisibly, we're going to see throughout the upcoming course I'm teaching about how the quantum field that connects us really allows us to invisibly communicate with each other in ways that we're not always conscious of. So we see evidence of that in signs and synchronicities and moments of telepathy. And these are really little validations of what's possible and what's really going on, and how real this is. So I think it's just the tip of the iceberg, these little things we're starting to see. And the more you sort of pay attention to them, the more you start to notice them, and the more they start to increase.
Hmm. What about looking at it through a quantum lens helps you sort of deepen your understanding of how intuition actually works? Like, how do you get better at intuition as a result of understanding its quantum nature?
Yeah, well, you can start to see how it actually flows through you, and recognizing that it isn't just something that magically happens out of the blue. We actually can control it. It's something that we can open up to, when we get into the intuitive mindset and we start to learn how to receive instead of being busy and doing and always running around and trying to figure everything out. Slowing down, learning to open up and receive and listen. Key mindset shifts like this start to open up space for our intuition to work more. And then once we start to identify different forces, like how we drop in, how these little moments of insight come into our mind, like how many times have you had a great idea when you're in the shower, or driving to work when you're sort of spacing out. These are those sort of fertile moments when those little drop-ins from the part of you that knows everything show up. And these are the moments of genius that people like Einstein talked about. This is how we get these revelations in our life. And it's a really powerful way to learn. Instead of thinking that we can use our rational mind to figure everything out, we can start to open up and receive that guidance that comes from a higher place on a regular basis. So through things like that, and using concepts like resonance, learning to feel our way, use that heart center to make decisions, really allow us to become conscious of how we're already using our intuition, because we're all doing it to some level. And the more we become aware of how we're doing it, the more we can tune into that and pay attention to it and strengthen it and grow it.
What do you find are the sort of the key ingredients to optimize your receptivity to intuition, since you really talked a little bit about that and sort of really opening yourself to this larger field?
Yeah, so I tell people, one of the things I say is when you're working with your intuition, you have to learn to do nothing like it's your job, right? We live in this culture where we're taught to go, 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 and we're not useful unless we're producing. But we've realized that a very important part of the thinking process and the evolutionary process is white space, and putting white space on our calendar, slowing down, doing more of what we love alone in that stillness, opening up that mindful space so that those intuitive insights can come in. So that's really what I always say. The first thing we need to do is step back from that din, quiet our minds, right? Because all our busy thoughts and our really strong emotions are things that create a static, so our intuition doesn't get through. So it comes from that still place of peace and power. And if we're filling ourselves with all these emotions and all of these like toxic thoughts or compulsive thoughts, then we don't get to listen to that still, calm, quiet voice of our intuition that's always there guiding us. So it's about sort of mindset shifting into this place of quiet, peace, and power, trusting, learning to trust ourselves, learning to listen to ourselves instead of following the world and chasing all of the information that's out there in the world, when we really have what we need within us.
How do you differentiate it? I think a lot of really trusting your intuition is also knowing that you can trust what's coming from where, if whether it's coming from your subconscious, your thinking mind, or it's really coming from a higher place in consciousness.
Yeah, that's one of, I think, the most important questions that we focus on in the work that I do, is differentiating those voices in our heads, because we have a lot of them. It'd be nice if we just had that one true voice in our head, but we have our inner critic, we have our societal conditioning, we have our ego, we have all of these different voices in our head. And the key with intuition is really learning to discern what your true intuition feels like. And with time and practice, it becomes clear. The problem is, we've grown up in this world and we've been taught, we go to school, we get really, really smart, we learn to use our thinking brains, but we're not taught to use our intuitive mind. That's not something we go to school for, most of us, So learning to actually spend some time listening, paying attention to what those intuitive insights are, and then practicing. And that's the key, is to really get good at your intuition. You have to practice at it, right? Because you need to know what it feels like when you get it right. Right? And you need to know what it feels like when you don't get it right. So it's trial and error. And as you start to pay attention to it, keep journals, keep records, you start to feel the difference between your intuition and your like personal feelings, your hopes, your wishes, your fears, all of those different things. They have a different vibration within you. So when we do our intuition work, we learn to tune into that intuitive vibration and tune into that peace and power that fuels it, and rise above all of those small thoughts, feelings, personal ego stuff that we often confuse with intuition.
Hmm. Say a little bit more about the tuning with a different vibrational signature, or use a little bit different term. Like how do you sense what is a different vibration with a more intuitively guided information versus mental activity?
Yeah, one of the things I write about in the book is that vibration is our inner access code, right? It is through vibration that we're able to access different sorts of frequencies with thoughts and feelings and intuitive information. So it's really key that we get into an intuitive vibration when we're working. That's one of the reasons why I always do meditations or take some quiet time before we really do intuitive work, because you want to get into this sort of high vibration space where your intuitive energy is stored at this level, that when you're clear and calm and in this sort of super conscious aligned space, you have access to more of that clarity and that wisdom. And you create this sort of space where it's open for it to fall in and to be processed, as opposed to, when you're feeling stressed out, busy, sad, depressed, overworked, overwhelmed, right? That's a different vibrational state that's very difficult to tune into that true energy. You end up being surrounded by, all of these other sort of static thoughts and feelings, instead of being able to align with that inner truth. Because ultimately, intuition is simply your connection to truth. So we need to have an open, clear channel to that truth.
Love for you to share some stories from your own life or practice with other people that sort of help to illuminate this pathway to really developing and optimizing our intuition.
Yeah, so a lot of people that I work with are people that have never really even worked with their intuition at all. They might even think they're not intuitive. And I think this, this joke, my husband, he's my hardest client. He's like, he's a tech guy. And he's like, I don't have any intuition. Now he's out teaching it to his teams because he's realized that, wow, this is actually real. So I think for me, some of the most exciting transitions have been, really showing people, witnessing their intuition, witnessing these impossible things happening, like being able to recognize that you have a calling. You have a calling to create a business or start a new project, and you're not sure why, but it's on your heart and you want to do it, and you get out there and you do it, and you actually create something that's powerful and transformative, and it changes people's lives. Like, these kind of things happen all the time because intuition is so deeply tied to your calling and your life purpose. It's also really powerful in terms of our safety and in terms of, our self-awareness. I've had students tell stories about being in situations where they felt like their life was in danger, and their intuition cued them off that sense of knowing that something wasn't right, and learning to trust that and learning to trust ourselves. So it's so key. I mean, when people say trust yourself a lot, and it's sort of one of those, things we hear a lot in the spiritual community, but it's really powerful ultimately, because what it does is it shows us that the information that's coming from inside of us is valuable and real. So it's not just about trusting ourselves in a broad sense. It's really trusting the information that we're given, and the inner wisdom and the inner guidance that the universe is bringing through us.
Yeah, well, the really illuminating perspective. And I'd love for you to share just a little bit more about how you've seen opening intuitive channels really starting to impact somebody's ability to affect the larger world in a deeper way.
Yeah, and it does really, that's really where it ends. It starts with our own personal change. and learning to trust ourselves and make those courageous decisions, right? Because intuition calls us to be our best self, to bring creative energy into the world, to transform the world, to expand with the universe, right? So our intuition is our best friend. People are always like, oh, you have to be afraid of your intuition. People, there's all of this misinformation about intuition that's been handed out down to us throughout the years. But really, you're never safer when you're trusting and following your intuition. That is the time in your life where you're most connected and most supported by the universe. So we all know famous last words, I didn't listen to my intuition, right? So starting at home, listening to your intuition with everything in your life, whether it's your relationships, really learning to relate to your partner, learning to connect to other people, to have empathy, to feel the commonality between human beings, whether it's in your job, your creative passion, your purpose, whatever part of life, your health. Health is such an important way to use your intuition, to really know what's right for your body and to listen to your body. And then once you start doing those things, you'll notice that there becomes a ripple effect. The things that you do around you start to have an effect on the people around you. And with time, you can make a huge impact by making very small changes. So it starts with changing ourselves, but really what intuition wants us to do is to change the world, is to expand the world, to bring us together, to open our minds, to really sort of, I think it's fostering the next evolution in human consciousness. We have so much untapped potential, so much underdeveloped aspects of our intuitive mind. So it's really time to start looking at that and focusing on it and say, what can we do with the intuitive mind when we actually open up to that in the future? What does that world look like?
So what do you find are the most important foundational practices and activations to really start to create that coherence, the depth, and the full power of intuition that you're describing?
Yeah, so we do intuition practice. I think working with it is very important. So creating more time to do nothing. I said whether it's meditation, going for walks, spending time alone, getting into that intuitive headspace, and then practicing with your intuition, which would be, you can work with my insight cards decks. We're going to do a little practice with that coming up in a little while, which is a great way to flex that intuitive muscle. To keep an intuition journal, to start keeping track of times when you've experienced these sort of out of the blue intuitive experiences or drop-ins. You just know something and you don't know why you knew it, or you have a feeling about something even though you have no information about that thing, right? That's the thing, like the calling cards of intuition are these sort of knowings and feelings that you have that don't seem to have an apparent source or don't have any rational way of knowing it. So that's sort of, you're in the intuition zone when you start having these sort of magical experiences. And the more you start to notice them, write them down, record them, put your intention on them, the more you energize your inner connection, and it opens up space for more of that to happen.
Hmm. So it sounds like it's a lot about building a relationship with your intuitive mind, and the more attention you give, the more it's going to amplify. How does that build into what you want to do the demonstration with the insight card? So maybe give an example of how you work with the cards to sort of build that relational connection with your intuition.
Yeah, absolutely. And I created these insight cards. It was sort of one of my dreams for years as I was developing intuition, to have an intuition development tool as a card deck, because I think that intuition can often be very visual. It's part of this sort of legacy of the ancient art of sacred seeing, where you look at something and you allow it to speak to you with guidance from the universe. And in the old days, the divine would speak to you through paintings or through religious images. Now we can use things like insight cards or any image really that you find beautiful and pleasing. Allow it to speak to you by, letting your intuition unfurl a message based on where your attention is drawn to the card. So part of intuition, what's really key, there's sort of two key facets that we're going to talk about, is first impressions and resonance. So one has to do with the mind, one has to do with sort of the heart, emotive aspect of intuition. So when you look at something, whether it's an insight card, which is really just a metaphor for life, these card pulls and activities, they get us to practice using our intuition, seeing into our intuition, working with our intuition in a sort of a safe space so we can go out and do it in our life. So it's a really great daily practice that you can do working with these cards. first thing you do is you turn the card over and you look at it, get that first impression, that drop in, right? And that teaches us to pay attention to those things that fall in out of nowhere. Because that, again, is another one of the calling cards of intuition: ideas, thoughts, feelings that arise out of nowhere. Well, they're coming from somewhere. They're coming from the quantum field. And we're going to talk about that more in the program of how we receive that. So we open up to the quantum field when we're doing this work with the cards so that we receive these insights, and then also use our heart resonance to follow the imagery through the card to allow it to unravel a message of guidance from the universe. So it's really fun, and it actually creates all kinds of great synchronicities when you start to work with them on a daily basis, and gives us validation. And ultimately, that's what we need. When I teach intuition, I don't want you to take it from me. I want you to experience it for yourself. I want you to go out there and get evidence. This is evidence-based intuition. You're going to get to see signs and synchronicities that prove the things that you're getting and the ideas that you're receiving, so that you can build trust. Because my ultimate goal for everyone that I work with is to help them to build trust, understand their intuition, so they can know it and trust it 24/7.
That's great. Well, do you want to go ahead and lead into the actual working with the deck?
Yeah, let's do it. All right. So, folks watching, if you want to do this along at home, you can as well. And I just invite you right now to kind of think of an area. And Stephen, you can think of an area of your life right now where you just need a little bit of guidance or higher awareness. Starts off with a very simple intention. And then just take a moment within yourself to kind of set that intention. And I'll pull up the card deck while you do that. Do a little screen share here. So I'm gonna turn over the card, and then when I do it, Stephen and those of you watching at home, just notice the first thing you see on the card, right? So go to the first thing on the card and just sort of tune into your intuition and see how it speaks to you as somehow being related to your intention. And then after that, just allow your mind to kind of wander through the card, looking at the different imagery, and let that imagery unfold a story. It'll start to speak to you, and a message of guidance will start to come through. So just take a moment with your card, and then we can talk about it.
I found it. So I was obviously the foreground is the scales that are sort of weighing both sides there. I was drawn to first figuring out what was on the left-hand side. It looked like a stack of coins,
Mm,
but it could also be like something else. It's a little small and it's not huge on my screen. But I was sort of drawn to that, and um, yeah, and then as wandering around, I feel like there's this, it's the same coloring as the bird on the right. So it sort of has
mm,
a little bit of a yin yang kind of quality
mm.
that like the golden bird on the right and the left golden coins or something.
Yes,
And yeah, then I'm drawn to a little bit the top center of like the mountain, sort of
perfect.
layers of mountain peak that feels like it's sort of like there's a higher vista or a summiting of some kind. Um, so
Excellent. So starting off, did the little pile of coins resonate at all with your intention or connect to your intention somehow?
yeah, I was asking about, I've been feeling called to do more writing, and I've got various potential avenues that things to work on, and I was gonna been doing stuff more for the presidential campaign, and then I was a book of poetry, and then there's like a visionaries guidebook, and so it's a little bit getting a sense for what might be the best thing to focus on in terms of my own writing practice in this next phase. So,
Perfect.
yeah.
So as you were doing that, right? So I can definitely see how that could start off with a message, and I don't want to put any of my thoughts on yours at this point. But so as you're sort of going through and bouncing over to the next thing you saw, that bird, I'm curious, did you have any thoughts or impressions that just kind of popped in, or anything that comes to mind as you're doing this? It might seem like it's your own thoughts, but sometimes just a phrase will pop into your head sometimes.
Yeah, well, I think the Visionaries Guidebook kind of concept has like feels connected to Bird in many ways, because being able to see more widely, be a little bit freer and more expansive and being able to see things. Um, yeah, so it feels like there's sort of that. like the connection I would see with the gold coins is that free I do more coaching on and leadership development work with people on the side from Shift, and so that it would be sort of helping, be financially generative, to be, sort of empowering more people in their journey as visionaries. It's kind of how I would read that a little bit. Is it like that almost like the bird is more the visionary and the gold coins are a little bit how do you monetize your mission?
Beautiful. I 100%. I feel like that energy just starting out with it, that, there is energy of prosperity around it, and that sort of balancing element too that seems to be important in this whole process. But also, the bird, the flying, the vision, the rising above, and the way that your energy went straight up to the point at the top, which was sort of that vista. It sort of only almost led a pathway to that. And so it really felt kind of like a beautiful message of encouragement, of opening of space, um, and really just kind of listening to yourself and your intuition.
Hmm. That's great. So just to make it clear for everyone, so it sounds like there's no right answer with any of this. You just kind of like, is it intuitive not only what you draw, but like what you're drawn to then?
Yeah, right. So the key with this, and some people sometimes think they're making this up the first time they do it, because it's easy to think, oh, I'm just saying, what I want to hear or whatever. But there's a couple things that are actually happening here. The first thing, these are developed to actually get your thinking mind out of the way. Because if we really want to start listening to our intuition, we have to stop overthinking. We have to stop being in control of what we think personally is the right outcome. So turning it over to your first impression, that first thought that pops in, that's an intuitive insight where your intention is drawn, went straight to that. So you start to focus more on interpreting a scenario than to actually thinking of the solution. And then before you know it, you find yourself in the middle of this sort of download and this flow that's really carrying you through this image with insight and leading you towards a message of guidance. So you're sort of relaxed, you drop in, and you flow through it. So it becomes more of a passive experience. So it's really cultivating a different way of thinking receptively, of thinking intuitively. And what's really fun, and what we're going to do in class, is after we do this for ourselves, we're going to go and do this with partners and different group members. It's optional. You don't have to do it if you want, but we have the opportunity to do that. And what's really great about that, Stephen, is when all of these synchronicities and validations start coming up. For example, your partner might end up pulling the same card for you, or your partner will come through with a similar message or see something similar on their card as you saw. So then you start seeing all these validations from the universe coming in, and the magic starts to happen. So these cards really open space, not just only for you to practice and flex your intuition muscle and learn to understand, what your intuition actually feels like, but also to get validations and signs that you're not just making this up, that this is real. And that's the thing about intuition. It's so subtle and it's so receptive, we can often confuse it with our imagination. But imagination is really just the gateway to intuitive insight and genius.
Hmm. So it sounds like it's important that you don't come in with like a mindset that there's one interpretation of the card or whatever happens, that you're sort of allowing that to be almost the screen on which you project something internal.
Absolutely. It is 100% that I designed these so that there's no knowledge systems at work. You don't have to look any answers up or look for symbolism. It draws on whatever's inside you. So all of us can be looking at this card. If you use this card at home right now, you would have likely had a very different experience and received a unique message, because your intuition is uniquely for you, and it will show you the way through this card that's meant for you and your own personal message of guidance. I'll use a single card in a group with 50 people, and not a single person will have the same interpretation of the card. So it's really cool to see how intuition works, and how it really is such a personal act, and how the universe can use them to speak to us personally.
How would you then work with the what's coming through over time? So would you keep the card on your altar, keep working with it, or just keep journaling on whatever comes up? How do you sort of then continue to deepen the relationship?
That's a great question. I always encourage folks to take a screenshot, put it on their desktop, print it out, or I have printed decks too. People like to sit the cards out while they're certain cards are active at their life at certain times. I've been printing these cards for about 5 years now, and one of the things that again and again comes back is that people will say, "Oh, I've been pulling this same card for the past 3 months." What does that mean, right? Well, so cards will start to show up even electronically. You'll pull them in your deck. It's weird how it happens, but similar cards will show up when you're dealing with similar subjects. So that's a way of the universe saying, yeah, we're still working with this energy. There's a message for you here. Pay attention, keep listening, keep looking. And yeah, so you can begin to work with them over time. I love to encourage folks to have a journal. You can write down the different cards in your journal, but keeping them, bringing them into your meditation, gazing upon them are also great ways to really deepen the insight they bring you.
Great. So I'd love for you to maybe dive a little bit more into the science side of this, since I think that's really particularly fascinating. What has science been showing us about the intuitive capabilities and how to sort of best cultivate it?
Yeah, and that's some of the most exciting things that I've really been working with over the past year is really looking at contemporary physics and understanding, how does this all work? How is it possible for your intuition to work? And a lot of that's come out from our understanding of the unified field, and that there's actually a non-local quantum field that connects everyone and everything invisibly. And this really answers a lot of questions. It's the missing piece in understanding reality, especially from a metaphysical point of view. For centuries and centuries, we've had people reporting things like, paranormal experiences, supernatural experience, being able to see the future, near-death experiences, out-of-body experiences, ghosts, seeing ancestors, communicating with loved ones, you name it. There's been countless reports and experiences from people all around the world for centuries, and yet there's been this overarching sort of notion in Western society that, oh, it's not really real, or it's dangerous, or, this is part of something that we should, it's forbidden knowledge that we shouldn't explore. But now we're understanding it's none of those things. It's just this mysterious part of reality that we haven't yet discovered. But now we're really, this is just the tip of the iceberg. We have information so that we know that it's real and it's actually operating under real laws of physics, from the quantum world, from the microcosmic world. So this is a really exciting time to be alive, because now we're starting to see that through the quantum world, we're actually able to do things that we were told was impossible. So talking about the quantum field, we realize that this sort of invisible reality surrounds us as an invisible realm of information, energy, and light that carries wisdom, information, and really all the data of the universe. So the ideas like the Akashic record that people were saying, oh, that's sort of a woo-woo idea, but now we're realizing that, wow, the Akashic record's actually real. It's all stored in the quantum field. It's this compendium of everything that's ever happened. And guess what? It's accessible to your intuition. You can't read it with your rational thinking mind. You have to read it with your intuitive mind. So there's so much opportunity to start exploring, what we can really do with intuition when we start to learn to tap into that quantum field and what it holds.
Love for you to share. I know you also work some on the different intuitive channels, or just, each person is designed a little bit differently in how they get their intuitive information. Maybe share a little bit about that diversity of different inputs or areas that you can have intuition open up, and how you can prioritize that which is easiest or strongest for any individual.
Yeah, and this is a really fun way of exploring your intuition, because, when, radical intuition came out, we started talking about, this holistic perspective of intuition. So what is it really? What is intuition really? Is it a gut feeling? Is it a knowing? Is it a sensation? Is it some sort of psychic prophecy? Well, we realize that intuition is all of those things. So I wanted to really create a holistic view of intuition that sort of showed us all the many different ways that intuition flows through us and guides us, because it's doing it all the time from all the sort of different aspects of our body. And it really comes down to the human makeup, which is, essentially in the Jungian tradition, body, mind, heart, and spirit, right? So if you want to look at it very simply, our intuition speaks to us through all of those things. Each one of those things is a channel that allows our intuition to download, to speak to us, to give us information. So through our bodies, right? We're able to pick up through our senses, through our sensors, right? We have these sensors all over our physical body that allow us to see things, hear things, feel things, right? So this is a huge way for us to experience psychic phenomenon, intuitive phenomenon, through our metasenses, through what people call the clairs, right? This is where our body actually processes intuitive information from the quantum field. We also process information from the quantum field with our thinking minds, right? We suddenly have a knowing. You just know you shouldn't drive to work a certain way, and you don't know why, but it's just like, nope, I'm not going to go that way. I'm going to go a different way. And it turns out there was some big traffic jam. You would have been late for a meeting, right? You'll have a knowing. And it's because there's a part of you, this part of you that knows everything, which is really key. It's understanding that you have a part of you that knows everything. We might not carry it all right here in our conscious mind, but that part of us is speaking to us all the time. And it can guide us and when we're not even expecting it. So those inner knowings, those little moments of clarity or of a push to do a certain thing that we're not sure where they're coming from the field and the part of us that knows something that we don't know. So inner guidance, right? That's key, the mind. Also the heart, the feelings, right? Not the personal ego feelings, right? Not the emotions, but the emotive energy, the passion, the drive, the callings that reach out to us and ask us to go out and make change in the world and do something great and to make a difference or to improve our lives or to live our best lives. All of these things, these heart-centered drives, are a very powerful part of intuition. It's very powerful for business, for leadership, for any kind of creative work, this heart center. So really important evolutionary force for humanity. And then finally, the spirit, right? Our eternal self, our all-knowing, ever-present being. This is how we really connect and commune with the universe, our true self, and really have those opportunities to have those beautiful mystical experiences and things that happen that we can't explain. And so this is a real beautiful sacred part of our experience with intuition. So understanding that we all sort of have these four channels working within us, bringing intuitive information into our consciousness and into the world, allows us to start working with it more consciously. And each one of these sort of types of intuition, channels of intuition, have an archetype. And you can we're going to do an assessment during the program where you can see what your intuitive archetype is. You know, what kind of intuition do you naturally use? Which channels are naturally open? And then we'll start building on those and working with them. So all of those channels eventually open up so you can get more information, more clear information regularly.
Very cool. I wonder if you can sort of build a little further into the body aspect. And I know there's so much of what is taught out there around reading people, getting information, has to do with reading energy fields, and share a little bit about like how to work with the sort of the biofield and energy as a way to access more intuition as well.
Yeah, so we talk about the quantum field. That's sort of the universal field that's out there, that's everywhere, that connects us all. It's within us and without us, but we all sort of have our personal energy fields too. We call that the biofield, and that's the information that we store locally. The quantum field is non-local, which means it's everywhere, every when, all at once. That's how we can see the past and the future and sort of transcend time and space. But with our biofields, we can focus on the energy that we hold within us, or even that objects hold within them, right? Everything has its own biofield. And we're reading biofields all the time. You know, when you meet someone new, you're talking to them, you see their physical body, but you're also responding to them energetically. Even, beyond time and space. You don't have to be physically present for that energetic connection to happen. So when you start to become aware of this energy and really notice how when you meet someone, you might meet someone for the first time and just think something is off, right? You're just like, I don't know, they're saying all the right things, they seem really nice, but just something's off. And that's your intuition, right? Your intuition is reading and sensing that energy that they're storing in their biofield. And, maybe you find out later that they were mean to one of your friends or something like that. And you say, okay, so I had a way of invisibly connecting with this energy and receiving from it that I wasn't consciously aware of. So we can start to recognize when we're doing that in the future. You can also, this applies to everything though. It's from, antiques. If you antiques in your house, they hold that energy of the people that used to sit on them or be around them, or you really absorbs them. When you go to buy a new house, you want to read the field of that energetic space. You know, you have like good vibrations and even in sacred spaces, if you go out into nature, there's places where you can read those fields of the biofields of the trees and the different things that are present in different spaces in nature. So it's a fascinating area really to dive into, but we're reading biofields all the time. So using your intuition can really help you to kind of gain more insight into the world around you that you're interacting with constantly.
Great. Well, Kim, you're clearly a fountain of great passion and insight into this area, and I'm excited that this is not the end of the line for those who would like to go further to develop quantum intuition. So let's talk a bit about your upcoming program with Shift. And first, thank you so much for partnering with us on it. And the program is called 7 Keys to Activate Your Quantum Intuition: Practical Applications to Amplify Your Natural Psychic Abilities to Access Greater Wisdom, Insights, and Guidance. You can see it at the URL quantumintuitioncourse.com, quantumintuitioncourse.com. It's a 7-week program. There's no prerequisites. You can be very advanced in your intuitive practice or really just starting to open that channel. And you will get great benefit from all of the work that Kim has done to synthesize best practices and help to activate this interface with you and the deeper wisdom that you carry. So Kim, I'd love for you to share in your own words some of your intentions for the program, and then I'll read out the module titles and you can give us a preview of what's coming in each.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so excited to teach this program, and because mostly for me, this has really opened my eyes. Writing the book, The Illumination Code, and really doing this deep dive into the quantum aspects of intuition has changed the way that I view intuition and reality. And I really hope to really help other people to understand that intuition is a natural part of your life. It's an untapped potential within you. And then really to show you really practical, down to earth ways where you can use your intuition all the time to improve your life, no matter what you're doing, and really to live a better life, a happier life, a healthier life.
Great. So module 1 is called Discover the Part of You That Knows Everything to Unleash the Potential of Your Quantum Mind.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about intuition as a quantum phenomenon, you know, what that means. Talk about this part of you that knows everything. There is this deep inner wisdom that you hold in your higher self, your true self, your all-knowing self, whatever word you use for that. We're going to dive into what that is, how to access it more. We're going to talk about non-locality, how this idea of everything happening all at once enables us to do these impossible things that we were once told was impossible. So we're gonna dig into what's possible with your intuition now from this new contemporary understanding of it, and begin with an intuition activation meditation. We'll do this together, and then we'll start working with some insight cards. So I think the first step is really to get warmed up during this program. We'll sort of get into our intuitive zone, activate, awaken our intuitive sensibilities, which are always there. We've all been using them. We just want to start using them more consciously. And then we'll work together to start getting some validations and some real evidence of intuition at work in your own life.
Module 2, open your 4 intuition channels for expanded access to the wisdom of your inner realms.
Yeah, and that's where we're going to get into those 4 channels of intuition, those 4 intuition archetypes, and you'll get to do some personal work to find out your natural intuitive style, how you're naturally using intuition, and what you can do to start opening up all the different channels of intuition in your life. We're going to do an actual intuition attunement meditation where we start to attune those 4 channels, open them up, get them flowing. I'm going to teach you practices that you can do at home, anytime in your life, to open up any of those channels that might be blocked. So because, you know, sometimes we have these intuitive blocks, and that prevents us from really taking these next step forward in our life and really opening up to our authentic self and finding happiness. So I'm going to work with you to open up any of those blocks, to attune your intuition. And then we're going to practice actually making a decision with quantum intuition. So we're going to do hands-on practice. Like I said, I don't want you to take any of this from me. This course is going to be about you doing this work and experiencing this magic yourself.
Module 3, explore the quantum field to discover who you really are and reveal the purpose of your life journey.
Great. And this is when we're going to start going into the Akashic field, diving into things like the Akashic records, understanding What all is held in this quantum field? How do I access more of it? What is my own particular methodology for doing this? What works well with my sensibilities? So we're going to work with your unique intuitive style, how you'll be able to work in your own way with your intuition to download insights from the field. And then we're going to work with the meta senses. You're going to learn which ones of the psychic senses that you also naturally use. And I'll teach you how to open them up and work with them in more deeply in your life. And then we're actually going to have some practice doing an Akashic field meditation, getting some information and guidance from that quantum field for your life. So I'll teach you a new way to do that so that you can continue to get insights for your life on a daily basis as you continue to move through your life.
Module 4, intuitively read your quantum body biofield to cultivate well-being and transmute your pain into power.
Yeah, this is a really fun section when we start working with biofields. As I talked about, there's so many different types of biofields that we're going to play with. We're going to work with these personal fields, your personal field, your aura, the energy that you keep around you. And we're also going to dive into the chakras and how we use our intuition to actually read the chakras, balance the chakras, open the chakras, all of those great things that have to do with energy sensing, because part of reading biofields is tapping into that sort of energy exchange and the energy that's being stored within them. So I'm going to teach you how to look into those fields, to read them, and to work with them to balance your own energy field. So, then we'll end up doing some work with our partners, and you'll do a chakra reading for yourself. Everyone's going to get a chakra reading, and also work with a partner to receive a chakra reading. So the great thing about this course is not only are you going to get practice using your own intuition, but when you work with a partner, you actually get to receive intuitive guiding messages in every class. So we'll be working every week so that you not only receive guiding message through yourself, but you work with a partner to get validation of that guiding message and to sort of bring in sort of intuitive wisdom from different channels in your life.
Module 5, transcend the boundaries of physical reality as you activate your limitless nature to manifest the life you want.
Yeah, this is when we dive into those impossible things, foresight, reading the quantum field beyond time and space, remote viewing. We're actually going to do some of these impossible things practices. So you are personally going to get to experience some impossible things in this module and learn how to do them at home in your life. So working together to tap into the quantum field, to transcend time, transcend space, be able to see beyond space, be able to look forward in time, look back time, even to our past lives, right? So we're going to practice doing some of those remote viewing things. I'm going to teach you how to remote preview things. It's a great way to get validation for your intuition on a daily basis with your life. And then we'll have some fun doing that together.
Module 6, discover your soulmates and past lives to gain insight into your relationships, personal challenges, and life themes.
One of the exciting things about quantum physics is this concept of entanglement. And entanglement shows us how we're connected to people and places and things through our emotions, through our thoughts, through our experiences. So we're going to dive into the things that you're entangled with. Soulmates are a really big topic when it comes to entanglement, because it allows us to look at the people that have been transformational in our lives and that we've entangled with. And the reason we entangle with people most of the time is for our own personal growth and our own expansion of consciousness. So we're going to look at different entanglements that you have and how they're fueling the expansion of your consciousness, and then even looking at your life journey arc beyond this life, because we know that we exist in more than just in this moment. So we're going to use this to look into our other lives, our past lives, our future lives, and look at this arc of the soul's journey and sort of look at where you are in this moment in time and what we can learn from the parts of those lives that are still active in your life today.
Module 7, meet your guiding forces and discover how life speaks to you personally with meaningful signs and synchronicities.
Yeah, and this is really sort of the end of the journey. The end goal with intuition is going into that deep dimension and transcending this reality and realizing that we are part of an ecosystem of interdimensional life, and that we are actually still communicating, interacting with those dimensions invisibly all around us. So we're going to talk about signs and synchronicities, how they happen, why they're important, and how to get more signs in your life to guide you and to affirm your path. And then we're also going to look at your guiding forces, the teachers around you, the ancestors, the spiritual family that is around you supporting you, and how that works and interacts with your life on a daily basis. And then we'll do an illumination journey meditation, which is one of my favorite things to do with my class, is where I guide you on an inner journey. You'll get a chance to meet a guide or a teacher, discover something that you don't know about yourself, and actually receive a gift, a token gift that you can take out into your life for validation and future synchronicities for the rest of your life.
Well, what a super interesting and very empowering program you've laid out. Again, it's all laid out in detail at quantumintuitioncourse.com, quantumintuitioncourse.com. So if you choose to move forward, you'll get the 7 90-minute live sessions with Kim, which is going to include time to practice together, also ask your questions live. You also get recordings of every session, both video and audio, as well as word-for-word transcripts to work with, study, and highlight. There are weekly exercises for home. There's a Facebook community to support you and deepen your experience. There's small group time to connect with other participants. And on the page, you'll also see a number of extra bonuses that are Kim's chosen to really enhance your journey. There's a 42-card printable insight card deck that's a physical version of what we saw today that you can print out on your own laptop. Kim, you want to share a little bit more about having that available for everyone?
Yeah, it's great to have. Sometimes people like to have tangible cards. So I created this printable card deck so that you can print them out, use them anytime, anywhere. Even if you're not at your phone, you can't use the interactive one. We'll always have access to the online deck in class and for practice, but it's really great to have a physical deck. And then you can put them out, save the cards, put them in your journal, and really use them anytime, anywhere.
It's a great resource to have on tap. And there's another bonus that I draw your attention to. It's called Healing with Your Higher Power. It's a video teaching with Kim and Vanessa Cordonu. You want to share a little bit about that special bonus?
Yeah, that was a really great Shiv Network conversation that Vanessa and I had about this idea of using your intuition to heal and to listen to your body. So I think that, when we're talking about the different channels of intuition, physical intuition, the body's intuition, it's very important to start listening to the way our intuition speaks to us through our body on a daily basis. So this talk is a great way. There's a little workshop involved. We have a practice that'll help you really starting to tune into your body's intuition and listen to how it's calling you to heal and grow and move forward.
And as if those bonuses weren't enough, we have one very special bonus. It's actually 10 daily workshops. This is our special bonus you get if you sign up right away by midnight tonight Pacific time. This is the 10-day Wake Up Your Intuition event. 10 daily workshops with Kim. You want to share a little bit more about that special bonus they get when they sign up today?
Yeah, this is a really powerful event, and it's really designed to just sort of jumpstart your intuition. So it's a great thing. You can start doing it right now. It's a great way to get ready for the course. It's even a great thing to do in the beginning of the course because I have some conversations with some really great thought leaders about what intuition is. It's very educational in terms of looking at intuition from a broader sense, from creatives, from visionaries, from leaders, through spiritual leaders and wisdom keepers, and all of the different ways that intuition affects our lives. And then there's daily practices and meditations that you can do to start warming up your intuition so then we can hit the ground running when we meet together the first time.
Well, it's truly going to be a wonderful program, and that's a great reason to sign up right away. And we've kept the investment very accessible for this program. It's just 3 payments of $128, or you save 10% when you pay in full with one payment of $349. The course is going to start October 2nd, run Wednesdays at 9 Pacific, noon Eastern. But even if you can't make those live times, you can still get the full value with the recordings, the transcripts, and the community as well. So I also want to direct you to the testimonials on the page. There's a lot of great testimonials about Kim's teaching, about her heart space she created, inspiration, higher vibration, esoteric wisdom, and scientific discovery. A lot of great testimonials about the power of Kim's work and the dedication to teaching you how to cultivate your own abilities. So again, you're in great hands, and you will get that special bonus of the 10 days. The 10 workshops of the 10-day Wake Up Your Intuition event when you sign up by midnight tonight. So Kim, we're reaching the end of our time together. Anything that's still on your heart you want to share with folks who are considering diving into the Quantum Intuition program with you?
Yeah, I'm just so grateful. Thank you for spending this time with us today and for listening and for really opening your heart and mind to intuition. I'm just so happy to be out here to be part of your journey and to really be doing all I can to help you rediscover that magic and wonder of life. And I think that in the end is what this all comes down to, is for all of us, you know, tuning in and realizing that we live in a universe of wonder, a universe of mystery. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more for us to uncover as we venture into the inner frontier. So I'm so excited to be here and to join you on many inner expeditions to come, hopefully.
Hmm. Right. Well, Kim, thank you so much for your passion and your dedication to really lifting the intuition for everybody. I know that intuition is really at the heart of how we create a larger shift in our own lives and ultimately the world, because when we can plug into those higher forms of guidance, we're connected to our souls, to other allies, to the larger intelligence of the universe, and we just design a better life and a better planet when we do so. So thanks for helping us all to channel our abilities to the next level. So again, it's all laid out in detail at quantumintuitioncourse.com, quantumintuitioncourse.com, if you want to go deeper with Kim into 7 keys to activate your quantum intuition. And you'll get that special 10 workshop bonus when you sign up by midnight tonight, which is called the 10-day Wake Up Your Intuition event. So thank you so much. Thank you, Kim. Many
Thanks,
blessings.
Stephen. Thanks, everyone.